Ooh, whoa. Ah. Ooh. Oh. Ooh. Oh, hello. You join me as I'm enjoying my brand new tooled 2035 edition of the Bachmann Class 47. Yes, now I know at a first glance it looks suspiciously like the 2023 tooling. However, let me reassure you, I paid a very reasonable £950 DCC ready for this new tooled 2035 version. So, because the price is high, it must be worth it. And because it's got details, it must also be worth it. As we all know, latest is always greatest. Or is it? So, let's have a think about that, shall we? Still in this aside, we all know how as tooling progresses and model railways progress and the quality of models progress, we end up with finer details, higher fidelity, but high fidelity and more intricate detailing can quite often cause problems for the running of these new tooled higher quality models. And of course the problem with that is your brand new £300 model quickly becomes in danger of being unrunnable on your home layout and quickly becomes either a shelf queen or display piece or something that can only be run on either an end-to-end or a huge exhibition layout, due solely to the decreasing ability to be able to run at home because of the addition of these super fine intricate detail points. I mean, we've seen evidence of this already with things like bogie details getting in the way of the actual bogies moving left to right, and then that's causing derailments or issues. There's been a few different brands that have suffered this issue. I won't go into naming names here, but quick Google will bring back some results for you to peruse, and I'm sure some of you folks have had the same issues I have when it comes to things derailing because of detail parts getting in the way. Now, of course, there's also the other side of the coin where we have manufacturers telling us that it's a good thing that you've got all these details because you can make your model look exactly like the real thing. Problem is, these aren't the real things, these are models. And me personally, I like to run my models and use them and operate them. It's all very well saying some detail parts may cause issue with running, so don't fit them. Hang on a minute. So you're telling me that on one hand you're going to give me a superbly detailed model, but it won't run if I fit the detail parts you supplied to the model. If I take them out of the little plastic baggie, fit them to the model, it won't run at home on my very reasonable home layout. So I've got to choose between couplings or details. A model that runs or a model that don't. And I'm paying more money for more detail that I can't use or enjoy, because if I do, I won't be able to fit couplings which will allow me to run the model. I could always detail just one end, but that's not how things work. If you're to the point where you want your model to be as detailed as possible, you're going to want both ends done, and you've got detailed parts of both ends. So what's the point? Really, I'm confused. New tooling's supposed to be the saving grace of things at the minute. Manufacturers, and of course, we are demanding more detail in models, and that's fine. But really, what's the cost of that? The true cost, I mean, apart from increasing retail prices. Accuroscale had quite a good go at this actually, because they give you the snow ploughs which clipped onto the underside of the 37. So you could at least run the snow ploughs at the same time as having couplings, and because their couplings stay central, they don't move around as much. But again, you fill the detail parts and that's it, you're going to get derailments, especially if you're running at home on second radius or even third radius curves. hopefully you see what I'm getting at. I'm just a bit confused as to why we're expected to pay for extra detail parts. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy detail where appropriate, but why would I pay for more for a model, especially when it's the new tooling, when it won't run because I fitted the new detail parts to it? Again, I just don't understand it. This is why I'm not necessarily convinced that new tooling automatically means best tooling or best edition of a model. Consider, if you had a previous tool version of a model which was made in the last 20 years, okay, it might not be as razor sharp as the newer tool model is, but it'll run. And it's also going to be a lot more affordable than the new tooling version will be. And again, this rolls back to what we said previously about having a model which is more affordable and allows you to add the details you want at a much lower cost. Now I know you can argue that that's what they're doing with the new tool models and you can detail it to a point that you want. Yes, I understand that, but you've got to look at the cost difference. Often this will be £100 or more, and I'm just not convinced really with that amount of difference in the cost and price. I'm not convinced that we're there yet. I'm not convinced that the balance has truly leveled out in terms of new detail with running quality. For me, I think the arms race of super detail needs to stop. I think we've come to a point now where detail is at an acceptable level, and what we need to now work on is having the locos run, or indeed the rolling stock as well, run reliably at home for the average modeler. Of course, then stating that your model isn't meant for the average modeler, that's kind of unfair as well, because you're then excluding people even more so from the hobby. And what if that person buys your model because they really like it and they get it home and they find it won't run on their second radius curves, despite the fact it says it on the box? What it means is it will run on the second radius curves, but you can't fit any of the details to it, because if you do, we'd have the issues we spoke about earlier in the video. Personally, that just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and it makes me not want to bother buying new models, because I know that if I fit all the detail parts, I'm going to have to do a lot of modification to get them to run, or I'm just going to not have to fit them. Say for example the Batman 47 I've got here, beautiful model. If I fit all the detail parts to that buffer beam, when that bogey turns, it's going to catch all the pipework and it won't go around even a fourth radius curve. It'll just come off the track straight away. Now this isn't just a Batman issue, this is an issue with model railways in general. I'm going to put this down before I drop it, waving it around like it's a bloody lollipop stick. So let me be crystal clear. I've not got an issue with a model being a detailed representation of the real thing. That's fine. What I do have an issue with is being told that this version of the model is the best and newest tooling, but it won't run any better than the previous tool version. In fact, arguably, once you have this extra detail, it runs worse, or even won't run at all. Hornby's new Black 5, for example, it was heralded to be the greatest Black 5 ever from Mr. Simon Kohler. However, with it arriving, there have been a mixed bag of reviews. Sam Strains, Ed Pullen and Little Wicket, for just to name three, have given their own perspectives on it. Now, Sam had a couple of the Black 5s and they both went wrong, alright. Has a lot of bad luck, that lad, doesn't he? Eddie Pullen had no issues at all with his. Rob, over at Little Wicket, nice guy by the way, Rob, go check his channel out if you haven't already. His arrived and he wanted so badly for this Black 5 to work and to be great, but again, it just didn't. It had issues running on DC. That is probably because once you DCC fitted it, the technology involved with DCC would allow the motor to perform better, because the chip can adjust things like back EMF and power and all the rest of it. So that's probably what was causing that, which is why it ran better on DCC rather than DC. The coupling rod's falling off and all that, like, it's not great, is it, really? And yes, it looks a beautiful model, but again, at the risk of repeating myself, it's all very well if it looks good, but if it runs like trash, I might as well just buy a kit and put it in a shelf and not look at it anymore. But ultimately, as always, this is just my opinion and my take on something which is just I'm seeing more and more of, and it's a bit irritating. So I would say to any manufacturers that are watching, yes, give us the detail, please. Detail the inside of your carriage toilets to your heart's content and everything else, and that's fine. But please, please, please make sure that once all the detail parts are fitted to the model, you can still use it with the majority of couplings, which would be tension lock couplings in the UK, or at the very least a KD. Now you could always do what I've done with a couple of my other models, which is fit a little coupling drawbar. Have I got one to show you? Yes, I have. So yeah, so there you go. Class 20, all Batman one, and I fitted a little bit of detail to the front there, and I fitted this metal drawbar, which does help a little bit, but it still looks a little bit naff, and it's not perfect, because sometimes when propelling, the couplings can catch over that and cause derailments. But this didn't cost me anywhere near what a new version would have done, but it runs just as well, if not better than the new tool version without the detail parts fitted to it. See what I'm saying? So if I'm not wanting a shelf queen manufacturers, what is the incentive? Please tell me, what is the incentive for me to buy a model, which I want to run, by the way. I'm not bothered about it looking pretty on a shelf. I want to get involved with it, I want to use it, I want to run it, I want to operate it. And you give me all these detail parts, and they are superbly detailed, that's not up for debate, but I can't run it with all my other stock, because once I fit those parts, it don't work. It doesn't. Brucing the put that into it, really, it's out everywhere. So I want to know what you lot think as well. Have you had this issue? Have you found a way around it? Am I missing something glaringly obvious which allows me to fit detail parts to a locomotive or piece of rolling stock and still use standard tension lock couplings? You could always go through the 3-link coupling route, but then that brings even more problems to the pitch, as it were. So let me know down below, as usual, what you good people think. Without further ado, let's whip on to this week's updates. Right, so updates on the modelling of the railway nonsense. Several things. First, and probably most important and shocking, is I have decided, after much thought and relishing of my soul, to not continue with the Engage layout. Several reasons why. I'm just not getting along with the scale. I don't dislike it. It's just several weeks ago I hit a bit of a roadblock, and I just couldn't bring the I couldn't bring out the enthusiasm to finish it, and I cut it in half thinking that might fix it, and it just hasn't. So the layout itself is where it is. I have sold 3 locos from Engage, a class 27, or is it 26? 27, a 27 dummy, and the class 66. I've also put on eBay the rest, well, quite a large number of rolling stock. There's still a little bit left. I am going to keep, however, the box file layout, which is there. Still to finish that, because that's a whole different project altogether. But I'm also going to keep the class 17, because it's a class 17, and I can run that on the box file layout, and that'll do just fine there. I'm going to keep a few bits of rolling stock as well, so I can shunt something on the box file layout. But as far as this whole section goes here, whole thing, it's no longer going to be developed, and its fate will be either I'll sell it or it's just going to get scrapped. So if you're watching this and you're into Engage, or you want to start Engage, and you want the layout which is pretty much half built, and you're able to get to me to collect it, then you can come and you can take it and we'll sort something out, we'll sort a price out or whatever, and then you can have the layout. Otherwise, I'm going to try and sell it on eBay and get what I can for it. I'm certainly not going to nickel and dime people. I understand it's not a finished project. I don't know, 100 quid, something like that. I mean, the baseboard materials cost more than 100 quid. So you've got Metcalf retaining walls on there, and you've got engine sheds, tracks, points, and maybe even a bit of rolling stock as well. You know what I mean? So that is the quote-unquote bombshell. So there we are. But the good news is the double O stuff is doing well. Really taken with these new cement wagons I got last week, the week before. I might have already mentioned these actually, but for some reason the camera does not want to focus. Oh God. One final thing is I actually managed from Jen to get an Electro Train chassis, the 060. So I've got that 6-pin ready. Took the body off that came with it. I'm probably going to put that in a corner somewhere and just scrap it or put it on a flatbed or something, so it can be like a restoration project that's been done or whatever. But the good thing is I've got a Gladstone coming. I've ordered a Gladstone kit from Tom at Douglas Kelly Railway, so Gladstone is a go-go. So Gladstone, we're pulling the Douglas Kelly bacon, and that's it. Right, that's it for this week. I'm off to bed. Tune in next week for more nonsense, and I'll see you soon, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.